Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is time for another release. This is our May 2021 release, and I have a card set to share with you today. Hey, so I am using the new set Fancy Birthday, along with our new confetti stencil, our school dies, our candy bar sliders, and our label shape dies. I'm just going to pop open this confetti stencil die. This is how I store my stencils. I just cut off the top and store it in the original packaging. I'm using my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, and that is a piece of Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock cut at 4.25 by 5.5 inches, and I'll trim it down later. So I am using the Distress Oxide in Festive Berries, and I'm just quickly using a Tailored Expressions blending brush to blend color all over the place. Not being too careful. You want to go both ways, clockwise and anti-clockwise to, get the blending into all the nooks and crannies. And I'm going to go ahead and use other colors here. So I'm using Peacock Feathers, I'm using Dusty Concord, and then I'm using peeled paint with some Twisted Citron just because that matched my cardstock the best. So now I've got cardstock out from paper tray ink, and this one right now, you'll see that I'm using a scrap actually. I blended on a scrap. So I'm sticking it down to an A2 size vertical card base made from Paper Tray Ink's Berry Sorbet cardstock. That's 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches. I kind of prefer vertical cards. I'm using my ATG gun to stick it down, or ATG tape. And I trimmed down those pieces of backgrounds that I made into 4 by 5.25 inches. So I have a nice little border on my A2 size card, and that's my Teflon bone folder. So each of those card bases, okay, that one is made with Amethyst Allure from Paper Tray Ink. Each of these were scored with my Teflon bone folder and a Martha Stewart scoring board. Sorry, guys. And, any scoring board will do, but you really need a Teflon bone folder. So now this is Hawaiian Shores, and this is the blended background that I used, Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide ink. Not sure if I mentioned I used Tailored Expressions blending brushes too. Anyway, so I'm just quickly getting down my pattern paper for the background. So this is going to be a card set, just 4. And I'm pulling out my Fancy Birthday stamp set. And I went ahead and I cut out the smaller label with that Nina Desert Storm, and I'm pulling out my VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink, and I will be stamping on the Celebrating You stamp onto this label shape that I cut out. I used my Gemini machine to cut that out. I'm just testing it. I kind of like to season a stamp by rubbing it on my hand, and then I'll stamp it on something, make sure it's stamping clearly, and then I stamp it on my project. There we are. So just, straightforward acrylic stamping. I've got a foam pad underneath just for a little bit of give. And I'll go ahead and I'll stamp all 4 of those with my greeting, because that's what I'll be using on all 4. So, easy peasy. When you're making a card set, you kind of want to come up with the design and then get crafting. So I do all my die cutting at once. I use my Gemini machine, can cut a lot of dies out at once, which is, fantastic. And that's about it. So super quick stuff. Now you'll see I used a scrap again. Use your scraps. I've got my Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue, and I'm just going to center these onto the larger die shape or label shape die that matches. And then once it's glued, I'll put an acrylic block on there just for it to glue flat, and I'll move on to my next one. That's kind of what I do. So fast, super fast and easy crafting here. Nothing too crazy. I'm loving this new release. It's gorgeous. I had a really hard time choosing what I was going to make today. So although I will tell you this, all week I'm using craft. So that's kind of fun. So now I've got my craft base here. Now, if you die cut a die and you notice there's some little thready hanger-ons, use one of those foam sanding blocks. Works great. Now that is my candy wrapper die, and I'm just centering it on the top, letting about an inch hang off over the top. There we are. So that paper matches my A2 size card base paper. And now once I have one lined up, then I can use I can use that to line up the rest. So that's what I do. I sort of pile them on top and line up the rest. So easy peasy stuff. And like this is a simple card. So nothing too crazy. I believe I saw a sketch for this on Queen & Company. Not exactly like this, but that's what gave me my inspiration, so I'll mention it. I get inspiration all the time when I'm flicking through Instagram, so I try to give credit where credit is due. And this was I believe a Queen & Co sketch. Obviously it doesn't look like what they made, but that's what gave me the idea. There we are, and I'll put my last piece on. So, fast and easy stuff. There we go. So fun stuff. Now I'm going to trim off my edge, and I'm just using a big pair of scissors, and I'll just cut right along the card line. Oh, I'm going to frame there a little bit, but you get the gist. I was kind of sloppy with my glue. I kind of went above where I was trimming off, but what are you going to do? So now I'm pulling out my balloon dies, and I'm taking that die, the star one, and I cut out the same in the same cardstock, 4 of those. And I'm also using Trendy Twine from, twine from Trendy Twine. It's their craft color. And I'm going to chop off a few pieces of this, 4 altogether. And then I'm going to take a glue dot, and this is how I attach string to a balloon, because it drives me nuts when it looks like the string isn't wrapped around the balloon. So I stick it on the back, I run the tape around the little balloon tail, and then I put another glue dot, and then I run it straight down the back. So it looks like it's coming out the bottom. And that's what I do. So I do that 4 times here. So really quick. And, this is because I'm crazy. I don't know if other people look at these things, but I look at that on cards and it drives me bonkers when the balloons aren't tied down correctly. I don't know. I need help. Anyway, so now I'm going to pop up my little label shapes. I use these label shapes all the time from Jaded Blossom. They're a great investment. Because like I said, I pull them out all the time to use, so they're totally worth it. There we go. So I'm just using my 3M foam tape to pop up this sentiment. I'm going to put it at the bottom of that candy wrapper die. There we go. Or the candy bar slider dies, sorry. Candy bar slider dies. That's that top layer. And I'm just going to do the same thing to all 4. So easy stuff. This was a super simple card set to make, but I think it pops. So now I'm pulling out my school dies, and I cut out my little graduation caps out of American Crafts black cardstock. And I'm using my EK Success tweezers and my art glitter glue to stick these together. So fast and easy. That little top, there's one way for it to go on, for the peak to match up. So make sure you're putting it on the right way. There we are. So now I'm adding the little tassel, and that's just cut out of the same Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock. Just little leftover pieces is what I did. I didn't want to bring in any extra colors or patterns. I just wanted the color, just the color and the craft to kind of stand out, and that's it. There we are. So fun stuff. So I put them all together. This is sped up, so you can just sort of see how I'm getting them all together. So easy stuff. And now I'm going to assemble my card. You see the back of that black? That's a scrap. Use your scraps. When you screw up, keep them. And you can do stuff on the other side. I do it all the time. See, that was a less than par. Like, I did not like my heat embossing on that one. So, use the back. So now I popped up the edge using my using my Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, the little mini ones. Now I'm going to use the larger Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. I'm going to put 1 in each of the star corners. And then I'm going to put a little cut piece, the frame, on either side of that string, just to keep it stuck down. I don't want it to get dented in the mail. Canada Post is legendary for wrecking your mail. Anyway, so now I'm just quickly getting this star balloon on my card. And I'm going to use art glitter glue, and I'm going to stick down the tail of this Trendy Twine. So I'm just going to loop it around, nothing crazy. This dries clear. So I'm not too concerned about it being white and goopy now. So I'm just going to add a couple of dots to hold it. And then I'm going to sort of weave this string around and stick it behind my label, that label shape die. And then that's about it. Like, you know, super easy card. And I'm making, like I said, 4 of these. So, you know, if you're making one, you might as well make 4. I find once your supplies are out, you know, it's easy just to do a little extra die cutting and get some done. I did need some graduation cards this year, so it was good to make a few. Always good to have a couple in the stash, right? And yeah, so that's what I'm doing here. So I'm just looping it around. It's kind of fuss-farty, but I like the look of the loose kind of string. I just think it looks nice. It gives like a nice flowing kind of element to a card front. And, you know, obviously a balloon string wouldn't do this, but in my world, the balloon strings do this. They loop around and do it all prettily. There we go. So now I'm going to quickly, this is sped up, as you can tell, I'm going to pop up all these grad caps on all of the other ones. So fast. And then I'm going to pop up the balloons on all the other ones. Once I come up with my design, I kind of stick with it and move along. And it's super fast that way. You can't go wrong. There we go. And I wanted to keep that balloon the same color also, just so it had some dimension so you can see it, but it doesn't sort of take your eye away from the sentiment in the grad cap. There we go. So super fast. So now I'm using my glossy accents, and I'm adding Pretty Pink Posh sparkling clear confetti mix. I'm going to add 5 of them, you know, straddling the sentiment, sort of moving up the card base. I put 1 on the little star balloon, and I do this to all of them. I don't show you though because I was running out of time. So now this is for the inside of my card where you write. I'm taking a couple pieces of Post-it note, the ones that are full sticky. I rip it in half, and then I'm going to stick the stencil down, and I'm using the ink that's left on those blender brushes from Trinity Stamps. Is that right? I think, nah. Why am I'm having a brain fart. I said it earlier. Anyway, so I'm just, you know, sticking down the stencil. I'm turning it because I'm just using a little bitty part of it. And look at, I kept having trouble here. I was just trying to quickly get some ink down. I probably should have used my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, but you know, didn't want to pull it out. I just wanted to stick this down quickly. So there we go. And like I said, using the leftover ink in these brushes. Oh, that's what they're called. Tailored Expressions blending brushes. It just came to me. Sorry, guys. A little bit of a brain fart there. And like tons of ink left in these brushes. So I didn't have to pull out my inks again, which was nice. And these are all 4 by 5¼ inch pieces of Nina Desert Storm 80 pound for the inside. Those are the same size that I cut the pattern layer on my card. So that's the inside. So now I'm going to quickly use my ATG gun, and then I'm going to center my piece of cardstock on the inside. Then I'm going to take a piece of 1 inch by 4 inch piece of that paper, the matching paper, and just kind of line it up at the top of that ink blending. There we go. And then I will stamp a sentiment from School Time Greetings. There it is, School Time Greetings. And I'm using Congrats Graduate. And I'm just going to freehand stamp this with the VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink again. So easy stuff. And that's about it. And I'm going to do that to all 4 cards. So I'll have a nice little graduate set, you know, to use for this graduating season for the poor graduates that aren't really having a graduation. But that's neither here nor there. So anyways, thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to go on over to the Jaded Blossom blog and see how to get your mitts on this wonderful release. And I'll see you tomorrow with some new products and a new video. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.